Hey guys, I'm Mark, and today I wanted to shoot a video about my tomato cages. I had a lot of people ask some questions and leave some comments about the tomato cages that I used in my tomato video that I posted earlier this year of last year's harvest. So this is an example of one of them. I made this out of a cattle panel. I have a 16-foot long cattle panel that I bought at Tractor Supply. And behind me right here is one of those cattle panels laid out. I'll get to that in a minute, but each panel is 16 feet long and it's 50 inches tall. And you'll get 1.75 cages out of each panel, if that makes sense. Just the way it gets cut up, that's just how it works out. So this tomato cage is two pieces. You can see there's two L's there. I'm trying to hold it up. What are you doing back there? This tomato cage is two pieces and it's held together with zip ties, or wire ties, plastic zip ties, cable ties. People call them all kinds of things, but they're a dime a dozen. You can get them anywhere. Like I say, the cattle panel came from Tractor Supply, and they're pretty easy to make. You can see that this is bent. Initially, it was straight, and I bent it. So I'm going to show you how I did that. It's really simple. Basically, all you need is, well, your cattle panel. And you need a good flat piece of ground, if you can find it, preferably on grass. And a pair of bolt cutters. These are just standard run-of-the-mill bolt cutters. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make two pieces that are 2 foot, it's an L, I call it an L. It's 2 feet by 2 feet. So I need to cut this into 4 foot long pieces that I can then bend. And then the way the end works out it works out to be something a little different. You wind up having a scrap piece that if you buy enough panels, you can put the scrap pieces together at the end and make a full tomato cage. Like if you buy four of these panels, then you'll wind up with 7 cages at the end. Otherwise, you're just going to have a piece of cattle panel lying around, as you can use for beans or something else. Get creative with it. So anyway, these bolt cutters are pretty. Oh, let me get almost forgot my safety glasses. Let's see. These bolt cutters really make quick work of this. It doesn't take much effort at all. You just got to be careful that once you have these cut, that you watch the sharp edges. It does create sharp edges, which then you could come behind with like a grinding wheel or something like that and smooth them over if you wanted to. I just tell people to be careful when they're picking tomatoes and so forth. All right. There we go. So there's one piece, okay? Now, here's the tricky part. Well, what you would think would be the tricky part, it's actually really simple. I'm just gonna move this out of the way a little bit. All right. Now you just take a board. This is like an old 2x10 that we had lying around. This is what I used for all the other cages. Basically just lay it down right in the middle of where you want to break this or bend it. So you can see I've got 3 squares and then 3 squares. So I'm going to wind up bending it right here along this center square. Come back here. Oh, she's got my zip ties. She was wanting that bag the whole time. Come here. Come on. I'm going to get you in a corner. Well, we're just going to have to use our imagination for that part of the video, unless she comes back with them. Anyway, you just basically put your full body weight on this board, grab out wide, and then just bend it towards you. And you can kind of play with it a little bit until you get right about at a 90-degree angle. You can see when I bent this, I don't know if the camera will pick that up. Excuse me, but when I bent this, there's an inch between the board and that first bar. So I left enough room for there to be a good enough like radius to bend. I didn't put the edge of my board right there on that bar, because if I did that, the bend would be a little bit further up. So you kind of have to back off a little bit, if that makes sense. So that when you bend it, you're not putting a bend up here somewhere. So that's one piece. Take this off. And voila, it's as simple as that. Basically, you get one of those, you get another one out of that piece. Like I say, one cattle panel will make 3 of these, and then one piece that's only like half of this. And that's why I said if you buy 4 pieces, if you buy 4 cattle panels and you cut them all up, well then you'll have those last 4 pieces at the end that you can put together and make a whole cage out of that. But then it's pretty self-explanatory. I was gonna can I have my zip ties back? Maybe I can have my zip ties back, we'll see. Can I have that, please? Thank you. I'm gonna put them in my pocket this time. Come over here, you wanna see? You wanna come help? Yeah. All right, then I like zip ties to hold these together, because the stronger you pull them, the firmer of a grip it gets on them. I mean, you don't have to use zip ties. You can use wire or string or whatever you have, just enough to hold them together. I don't go all out and get the expensive zip ties, because in my case, I like to collapse these down at the end of the season. Yeah, you want these, don't you? They sound like a treat bag. I like to collapse these down at the end of the season. Like you can see that pile behind me, they stack really well. So it's very convenient. So you don't have to go all out on the expensive zip ties or do anything permanent to tie these. Because you just want, stop it. Stop, you can't have them. I don't know what it is about these. There. All right. Anyway. About 4 or 5 will do it. I like to cross them, like in other words, if you come up through this angle and then down through this angle, instead of like putting a zip tie around it just like that, if you do it on a cross, it kind of keeps them from going anywhere. It keeps them from slipping, the zip tie anyway. Stop it. Well, that's pretty much the premise of it. So that's how it's built. Let me talk a little bit about why I like them so much. I like the height a lot. At first I was concerned about them not being tall enough, but I actually wound up being really happy with them because they're squat enough that they can just be placed down on the ground. The tomato can grow up inside of them. Only one tomato plant goes inside one of these, by the way. The tomato plant can grow up inside of them and they don't ever blow over. They're squat enough that they're not too top heavy. Especially in my case, because I had them in lines and I was tying strings back and forth between when the tomatoes all kind of came together. I was sort of tying jute twine back and forth to hold the tomatoes up, which effectively kept the cages a little, linked together. So out of 120 tomato cages last year, I only had 1 fall over. Yeah, you want to help. She's a working dog. She wants to help. Only had 1 fall over out of 120, so I thought that was pretty good. If it was a whole lot taller than that, like if you wanted to double these up, you certainly could. I've thought about that and I might do that because there's certainly some varieties that I grew that would fill this out no problem. You just need a ladder to pick them is all. And then you could, same thing, just take zip ties and link them together and make like a massive, huge tomato cage. I'm gonna take this down before she knocks it over. So they don't fall over. I spaced these cages last year 2 feet apart, And that actually was not enough spacing, I thought, just because really foremost harvesting, all the tomatoes kind of grew together and back and forth. And you know, if you saw my other video, I was crouching down underneath and trying to pull these tomatoes out. It was not a whole lot of fun after about 2 or 3 hours of harvesting on any given day. So I think I'm gonna space them out a little bit farther this year. Instead of doing 12 of these cages per bed, I'm gonna do 8 cages per bed. Stop, we're playing a little bit. We're making a video. Where was I? I'm gonna do 8 cages per bed instead of 12 cages per bed, and I think that's gonna give a little bit more airflow, and it's gonna be easier to pick. And I think on camera, the tomatoes will show off a little bit better too. You can sort of see each independent plant more so, at least, than just this giant, massive wall of tomatoes, which was pretty cool, but we're gonna try a little different this year. So that's pretty much it. I'm gonna give a few of these away to some buddies because I still have a couple extra cattle panels left to deal with. And if you find yourself in that position, they're also great for all kinds of things. You can bend them in like an arch, and you can make like a tunnel to grow cucumbers on. They make great trellises, and they just make a really sturdy garden structure that'll last for many years. At least I'm hoping, and I'm convinced that they will. So those are my tomato cages and a little bit about them. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.